How do the parents walk into the bank and drain $180,000 from an account they shouldn't even control and no one stops it? Who approved that and why?
They emptied it. All of it. The bank agent's voice dropped. Your entire balance is gone. I was standing in my kitchen, barefoot, staring at my phone like it had just accused me of something. My name was on that account. My college fund, $180,000, had been sitting untouched for years. Who authorized the transfer? I asked. There was a pause, papers shuffling. Then she said it. It was done in person, by your parents. I froze. My chest tightened. That account wasn't supposed to be accessible without me. Not like that. Not overnight. I didn't approve anything, I said. Another pause, longer this time. Then her tone changed completely. Sonia, I'm going to connect you with our fraud team. My grip tightened around the phone. Wait, I said. What do you mean fraud? She didn't answer right away. And that silence felt worse than anything she'd said so far. The line clicked and a new voice came on, calm, controlled, official. Hi, Sonia. This is Marcus from the bank's fraud investigations unit. I need you to listen carefully. Fraud. The word didn't sit right. It didn't match what I was hearing. My parents had gone into a bank and taken money. That wasn't fraud. That was something else. Something I didn't have a name for yet. I'm listening, I said, but my voice didn't sound like mine. Can you confirm, he continued, that you authorized a full withdrawal of $180,000 from your education trust account yesterday at 3:42 p.m.? No, I said immediately. No, I didn't even know anything was happening yesterday. Another pause, but this one felt different. Not uncertainty. Calculation. Okay, he said. Then we have a problem. My stomach dropped. I leaned against the counter, trying to steady myself. You just said my parents did it. They were physically there. How is that fraud? They identified themselves as joint custodians, Marcus replied. They provided documentation that appeared valid at the time. Appeared? I repeated. Yes, he said. But there are inconsistencies we flagged after the transaction cleared. That word again. After. So the money was already gone. Where did it go? I asked. I can't disclose the destination yet, he said. But I can tell you this wasn't a standard withdrawal. It was structured. Multiple transfers initiated within minutes. That didn't sound like my parents. They weren't tech-savvy. They barely knew how to use online banking, which meant they didn't act alone. Marcus, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. Are you saying someone helped them? I'm saying, he replied carefully, that the pattern we're seeing doesn't match typical family access. My mind started racing. Documents, signatures, access levels. That account had rules. It wasn't supposed to be touched without me, not until I finalized my enrollment this fall. Everything about this was wrong. I need to come in, I said. I need to see everything. You should, he agreed. And Sonia, one more thing. Something in his tone made me stop breathing. The signatures on file for yesterday's withdrawal, he paused. They don't match your original records. My grip tightened again. That's because I wasn't there, I said. I understand, he replied. Another pause, then quieter. But someone signed your name. Someone signed my name. Not me. I didn't even remember grabbing my keys, but suddenly I was in my car, engine running, hands shaking against the steering wheel. The bank branch was only 15 minutes away, but every red light felt like it was stretching time on purpose. My parents weren't answering their phones. I called my mom twice, straight to voicemail. I called my dad. It rang longer, but still nothing. That wasn't normal. They always picked up. By the time I walked into the bank, everything felt too quiet, too controlled, like the kind of place where things like this weren't supposed to happen. Marcus was already waiting for me near a glass office, mid-40s, composed, the kind of person who didn't waste words. He shook my hand, then gestured me inside. "Sit," he said. A folder was already on the table. My name was printed across the top. "Before we open this," he said, "I need you to confirm something." I nodded, barely breathing. "Your college fund," he continued, "was set up as a custodial account when you were a minor. Your parents had access then, but that access should have expired when you turned 21. "I'm 31, I said. "Exactly." A beat passed. "So they shouldn't have been able to touch it at all," I added. Marcus didn't answer right away. Instead, he opened the folder and turned it toward me. "Then you need to explain this," he said. I looked down. There it was. Authorization paperwork, stamped, processed. And at the bottom, my name, signed. But underneath it, something else caught my eye. A second line. Custodian override authorization. My stomach dropped. I looked up slowly. "What is that?" I asked. Marcus met my eyes. "That," he said, "is how they got your money." "Who approved it?" Marcus didn't answer immediately. He slid another document out from the folder. Thicker paper, internal use, stamped with timestamps and employee IDs. "An override like this," he said, tapping the page, "can't be done by a teller. It requires a senior authorization." My pulse spiked. So someone inside the bank let this happen. "Yes," he said, "or believed they had a reason to." That wasn't better. He turned the page toward me. There was a signature line, not mine this time. Clean, sharp, confident. Branch manager approval. Name, Evelyn Carter. I didn't recognize it. "Was she there yesterday?" I asked. Marcus nodded. "According to the log, she personally reviewed the documents your parents brought in." "What documents?" I pressed. He exhaled slowly, like he already knew how bad this sounded. "A reinstatement request." I blinked. "Reinstating what?" "Custodial control," he said. "Temporarily." "That's not possible," I said immediately. "You just told me their access expired 10 years ago." "It did," he replied, "which means the only way this goes through is if there's a compelling justification." My chest tightened. "Like what?" He held my gaze for a second, measuring something. "Like proof that you were unable to manage your own financial affairs."
But my parents don't understand half of this paperwork. So how did they suddenly file something this specific and get it approved?
The words didn't land all at once. When they did, it felt like the floor shifted under me. "What?" I said quietly. Marcus flipped to the next page. A document, typed, formal. My name at the top, and a statement beneath it. Claim of temporary incapacity. They declared me unfit. "No," I said, shaking my head. "No, that's not real. I never—" "I know," he cut in, "but someone submitted it, and it was convincing enough to pass initial review." My throat went dry. "Convincing how?" He pointed to the bottom of the page. There were 2 signatures, my dad's and a doctor's. I stared at it. I didn't recognize the name. I didn't recognize the clinic, which meant one thing. "This is fake," I said. Marcus didn't disagree, but he didn't look relieved either. He looked more focused. "Maybe," he said, "but that's not the part that triggered the fraud alert." I snapped my eyes back to him. "What do you mean?" He leaned forward slightly. "The alert didn't flag when your parents accessed the account," he said. "It triggered after the money moved." A pause, then, "Because it didn't go where they said it would." Marcus didn't answer right away. Instead, he pulled one last sheet from the folder, this one covered in transaction logs, timestamps stacked within minutes of each other. "Watch this," he said, sliding it in front of me. I leaned in. 3:42 p.m. Full withdrawal authorized. 3:44 p.m. Funds split. 3:46 p.m. 3 outgoing transfers. 3:49 p.m. Account closed. Closed. "They didn't just take it," I said quietly. They erased it. Marcus nodded once. That's what raised the flag. My eyes tracked the transfer lines. 3 different accounts, 3 different institutions. None of the names matched my parents. Who are these people? I asked. That's what we're trying to determine, he said. But there's something else. He tapped the timestamp again. All 3 transfers were initiated from inside the branch. I looked up. So whoever did this was there, in person. Yes, he said, and coordinating in real time. That didn't fit. My parents couldn't pull something like that off alone. Not this fast, not this precise, which meant they had help, I said. Marcus didn't respond. He just turned the page over. On the back was a still image, grainy, pulled from security footage. The front desk, my parents standing side by side, and next to them, a woman, not in uniform, not staff, standing close, talking, pointing at documents, guiding them. My chest tightened. Who is that? Marcus held my gaze. That, he said, is exactly what we're trying to figure out. I stared at the image again. Something about her felt familiar. Not obvious, not immediate, but enough to make my stomach drop, because I'd seen her before, just not in a place that made sense. I looked back at Marcus. I know her, I said slowly. His expression sharpened. From where? I hesitated, because saying it out loud made it real. She was at my parents' house, I said, last month. A beat. They said she was helping them with paperwork. Marcus leaned back slightly. That was the first time he looked genuinely concerned. Then this wasn't random, he said. No, I replied. My eyes went back to the image, to the way she stood, too confident, too involved, like this wasn't her first time doing something like this. And then it hit me. One more detail, small, easy to miss, but not now. She's the one who told them to come to this branch, I said. Marcus went still. Are you sure? I nodded slowly. Yeah, I said. A pause stretched between us. Then he said the one thing that shifted everything again. We may already have a case open on her. This was bigger. I stared at Marcus, trying to process what that actually meant. Used, like they weren't the ones in control, like they were part of something bigger without even realizing it. Explain, I said. Marcus folded his hands on the table. That woman, her name is Lila Voss. She's been flagged in 2 ongoing investigations involving financial manipulation. She targets older clients, builds trust, then guides them through legal processes that give her access to funds. My chest tightened. So my parents thought they were doing something legitimate, he said, or at least something justified. I let out a breath, sharp and unsteady. That tracked. My dad always believed he could outmaneuver systems if he had a reason, and if someone handed him paperwork that looked real, he wouldn't question it. But the signatures, I said, the fake incapacity claim, the doctor, all fabricated or facilitated, Marcus replied. We're verifying now, but it fits her pattern. She creates just enough legitimacy to get past internal checks, then moves the money fast. I looked back at the transaction sheet. 3 accounts, gone in minutes. Can you get it back? I asked. A pause. Some of it, he said. Possibly. We've already frozen one of the receiving accounts. About 60,000 is still there. Relief hit, but it didn't last. And the rest? Moved again, he said. We're tracing it. I nodded slowly, forcing myself to stay focused. My parents, where are they in all this? Marcus slid another note across the table. They're still at home, he said. But Sonia, they're not just witnesses. I looked up. They signed everything, he continued. They presented the documents. Legally, they participated. The weight of that settled hard. They chose this, so even if they were manipulated, they still did it. Can I talk to them? I asked. Marcus hesitated, then nodded. You can, but I'd recommend you don't go alone. An hour later, I was standing in my parents' living room. The same room where my mom used to talk about my future like it was something protected, safe. My dad stood near the window. My mom sat on the couch, hands clenched. They both looked smaller. What did you do? I asked. No yelling, no build-up, just that. My dad exhaled. We fixed something that was ours to begin with. It wasn't yours, I said. Not anymore. She showed us the paperwork, he pushed back. Said you weren't using it, said it could be released back under our control temporarily. So you signed a document saying I was incapable? I asked. Silence. My mom looked down. That wasn't real, I continued. The doctor, the claim, it was all fake. We didn't know that, she said quietly. But you didn't ask either, I replied. That landed hard. My dad's jaw tightened. We were going to put it back. No, I said, you weren't. It's already gone. That's when the fear finally showed on his face. Gone? He repeated. Yes, I said, and now the bank and investigators and probably the police are involved. Neither of them spoke, because now they understood. This wasn't something they could explain away. Over the next few weeks, everything moved fast. Legal consequences? Lila Voss was arrested in another state, tied to multiple fraud cases. My case became part of a larger investigation. The fake documents, the staged override, it all traced back to her network. My parents weren't charged immediately, but they were formally investigated for their role in the withdrawal. They had to hire a lawyer, they had to give statements. Their names were now attached to a fraud case. Financial outcome? The bank recovered about $60,000. Another $40,000 was eventually traced and frozen. The remaining $80,000? Gone. Unrecoverable. Emotional fallout? I didn't go back to their house after that day. Not because I was angry in the way they expected, but because something fundamental had shifted. They didn't just trust the wrong person. They chose to believe something that benefited them at my expense, and they acted on it. A month later, I was back at the bank signing new documents, this time with full protections in place. Alerts, locks, verification layers, everything that should have stopped this in the first place. Marcus handed me the final confirmation. This account is now fully secured, he said. I nodded, taking it in. Thank you, I replied. He paused, then added, You caught it early. That matters. Maybe, but not early enough to stop all of it. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the updated balance. Lower than it should have been, but still mine. And this time, completely under my control. No shared access, no assumptions, no one else signing anything in my name. Just one clear line that couldn't be crossed again. Because now I knew exactly how easily it could be.
If something like that can be approved once, how many accounts out there look secured but aren't? And who is actually checking them before it gets too late?